A near-miss asteroid and Yellowstone's volcanic fury. What happened? In this video, we're going to talk about an asteroid that almost hit Earth. This was one of the closest asteroid impacts in recorded history, but it still had a major effect on our planet even though it didn't actually hit us. This is the story of how the Earth narrowly escaped an asteroid impact and how it may have caused the largest eruption in history. This is the planet Jupiter. It's famous for its giant red spot, which is so big that Earth simply vanishes into its colossal depths. But as impressive as that is, Jupiter has another feature that scientists are far more interested in right now. That's because this gas giant has at least 80 known moons, more than any other planet in the solar system. And astronomers believe there may be hundreds more moons that we haven't even discovered yet. Some of these moons are pretty small too. They're just a few miles across, not much bigger than asteroids. Asteroids are rocky remnants from the formation of the solar system that never coalesced into a planet. Many of them orbit the sun in a relatively safe distance. But every once in a while their orbits will pass close to a planet, and sometimes they get a little too close for comfort. For example, in February 2013 a 20-meter-wide asteroid exploded over the city of Chelyabinsk in Russia. The explosion was roughly 30 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima and shattered windows in buildings across 6 different cities. The asteroid itself had been traveling at 11 kilometers per second. So although it was very small, the energy released when it exploded over Chelyabinsk was astronomical. And luckily for us, it wasn't aimed directly at the Earth, it was just passing through. But occasionally an asteroid will come a bit too close for comfort, and we won't know about it until it's already too late. Just ask the dinosaurs. But some asteroids give us plenty of warning, and the one we're talking about today is one of those examples. In August of 2022, astronomers noticed a small asteroid zooming towards Earth. Its name was 2022-0NG7, and it was only about 2 kilometers wide. But it was hurtling through space at a speed of 63,000 miles per hour. And its path took it dangerously close to Earth. At first, astronomers believed that it could hit our planet as early as September. Later, they revised their predictions and said it would likely pass much farther away from Earth than they originally thought. But it's still considered a near miss. In fact, NASA believes the asteroid passed within 4,000 miles of Earth, which is closer than some satellites orbit our planet. And if this asteroid had struck Earth, it would have been catastrophic. Even if it was traveling at just half the speed that astronomers believe it was, 2022-0NG7 would have carried enough kinetic energy to completely obliterate a major city. But thankfully, it just skimmed past our planet and disappeared back into the darkness of space. So what does this all have to do with Yellowstone National Park? Well, shortly after the asteroid passed Earth, something strange began to happen deep beneath Yellowstone. The ground started rumbling with the largest earthquake swarm ever recorded in the region. Scientists have been monitoring Yellowstone for decades, ever since the first satellite data became available in the 1970s. Since then, they've recorded over 2,000 earthquakes beneath the park. Most of them are very small and most occur along the east and northwest flanks of the caldera. But between August and October 2022, seismic activity spiked dramatically in an area called the magma chamber. Scientists detected over 1,000 earthquakes, but they were too deep to cause damage or even be felt at the surface. Yellowstone is a supervolcano. In fact, it's the largest active volcano in the United States and one of the largest in the world. The magma chamber beneath Yellowstone contains enough molten rock to cover the entire United States with 1 foot of ash. If Yellowstone were to erupt, the environmental consequences would be devastating. Hot ash and toxic gases would blanket the entire western half of North America, and the fine ash particles would eventually spread around the entire globe. Yellowstone hasn't erupted in over 700 years, but before that, it blew its top every 600,000 years or so. So its time may be coming soon. Well, maybe it has already passed. Scientists say that a magnitude 7.3 earthquake rocked the region in the year 855 AD, which could have been the result of an underground eruption. There's also evidence of a large eruption around 13,000 years ago, but the geologic record isn't entirely clear. Now, it's important to note that scientists have not concluded that the recent earthquake swarm was caused by an impending eruption. There is no direct link between asteroids and volcanoes, and even if there was, a small asteroid passing close to Earth shouldn't have any effect on volcanic activity here at home. But we should probably keep an eye on things just in case. So, why did all these earthquakes suddenly happen? Well, it might have nothing to do with the asteroid. Scientists are still trying to figure it out. and it could be months or even years before they get an answer. The most likely culprit is fluid pressure. Magma chambers are typically filled with hot water, but where does that water come from? Well, it seeps down through the pores of the surrounding rock. When the pressure is high enough, it forces the magma up toward the surface and eventually it erupts. But when the magma chamber empties and the pressure drops, groundwater can flow back into the void, and in some cases, that sudden influx of water can trigger an earthquake. But what about the asteroid? Could its gravity have somehow affected the magma chamber? The short answer is no. Asteroids are much smaller than planets and their gravitational pull is extremely weak. The further away you are from an asteroid, the weaker its gravity is. In fact, you'd need to get within a few miles of the asteroid to feel its gravitational influence, and you'd have to be pretty heavy yourself to notice it. So the asteroid passing close to Earth didn't affect the earthquakes at Yellowstone. However, the asteroid did cause some major changes in Earth's atmosphere. When it entered the Earth's atmosphere, it left behind bits of ice and dust. And in the days following the asteroid's close passage, those particles reflected sunlight away from Earth, causing the planet to cool slightly. In fact, the asteroid passing Earth caused temperatures to plummet by about 1 degree Celsius. That doesn't sound like much, but it's about 10 times greater than any other known impact in recorded history. And when Earth cools, clouds form. Clouds reflect sunlight, which causes even more cooling. And before long you have a positive feedback loop that causes the entire planet to cool. A similar process happens every year in the Arctic. During the winter, ice and snow reflect sunlight and keep the region frigid. Then, as the sun climbs higher in the sky during the summer, the Arctic begins to warm. Eventually the ice melts and exposes dark ocean water, which absorbs heat from the sun and continues to warm the region. Before long it's warm enough for more ice to melt and the cycle continues. The asteroid passing Earth triggered a similar process but on a global scale. And while the cooling effect was temporary, it's possible that humans could use it to our advantage. Scientists are exploring ways to inject small particles into the upper atmosphere. That would reflect sunlight and slow down global warming. But the downside is that it would also block some of the sunlight that plants need to photosynthesize. So it's unclear whether the pros outweigh the cons. Scientists aren't sure how long the cooling effect from the asteroid will last. It could be just a few months or a few years, but either way it's too soon to tell whether it will have any lasting effect on Earth's climate. But what about Yellowstone? Could the asteroid have somehow affected volcanic activity at the supervolcano? Well, there's no evidence that it did, but there's also no evidence that it didn't. The reality is that the asteroid passing Earth and the earthquake swarm at Yellowstone could be related, or they could be completely unrelated. We simply don't have enough data to draw a conclusion. Yellowstone will probably erupt again someday, but it won't be anytime soon. The good news is that a nearby asteroid won't make that eruption any more likely. Now watch. Biggest volcano eruption in history, or check out asteroid found orbiting Earth.